Today I will present research project entitled Morphological Evolution Shaped by Dual Wind Regime across a small through blowout alterated by pathway. This project is a part of my PhD thesis in Perpignan under the supervision of Nicolas Robin and Hunger Tefeu, which focus on the impact of aeolian processes on the resilience of a beach dune system. Before starting, I will provide a brief overview of the knowledge about the blowouts. There is two possibilities of a wind pattern within a through blowout, depending on the incidence wind angle relative to the blowout axis. When the wind is parallel, it accelerated within the blowout as a jet flow, and there is a topographic steering along the axis. When the wind is oblique, it deviated within the blowout as an A-shaped flow or helical vortices characterized by a low wind speed. This wind pattern have an important impact on morphological evolution, as they promote sound transport or deposition at different places. Thus, there is a feedback loop between the morphology of the blowout and the wind regime. Blowout have already been studied, but only under onshore or oblique onshore winds, only on a large coastal dune, and there is only few studies have focusing on blowout influenced by trembling. The objective of this study is to understand the evolution of aeolian processes in a small through blowout, typically in the Mediterranean Sea, influenced by opposing wind regime and impacted by human activity. Our through blowout is located on coastal dune at Canet-en-Roussillon. You can see here the first interest of this study, as this blowout is disrupted by a closed footpath, the dashed line. This blowout have a specific elbow-shaped morphology with two main axes. And the third point of interest of this study is the specific wind regime, because this site is submitted by offshore winds that have never been studied for blowouts. And the bidirectional wind regime is also a specificity, as the onshore winds is the second prevalent wind direction. 2 days of field campaign during offshore and onshore winds were conducted, during which the wind speed and direction was recorded with a 26 anemometer placed across the entire surface of the blowout at 30 centimeters above the ground. We also use several Hilton sun traps for several runs. And to evaluate the topographic evolution, we realized 3 UAV flights that create 2 periods. The first is representative of offshore winds, and the second of onshore winds. At a multi-year time scale, we analyzed the LIDAR dataset of 3 days, and it's supported by the photo interpretation of BD-Ortho. For the result, I begin to start by the morphological evolution at a multi-year time scale. You can see with this 2024 UAV flights the current elbow-shaped morphology that we can try to understand their origin. In 2009, you can see at the north that the footpath crossed the dune and the initiation of our blowout. Then there is a rapid landward extension that led to the connection of the blowout to the closed footpath in 2014. After this connection, the surveys of 2020 and 2024 showed that the morphological evolution slowed with along this the footpath axis. Compared, the southern blowout have a continuous extension along the wind direction axis. It suggests that the blowout have a natural origin, but the footpath was the anthropogenic disturbance of the direction of the main blowout. Now that we understand the origin of this specific elbow-shaped morphology, we can try to reconstruct the feedback loop to our sites, and we start by the wind pattern. The analysis of the wind data from the 26 anemometers help us to develop a conceptual model. You can see here there is a different wind angle relative to the blowout axis with an oblique offshore wind and a parallel onshore wind. This difference of obliquity creates different wind patterns for both campaigns. The obliquity offshore wind creates an S-shaped flow associated with deceleration of the flow, whereas during onshore wind, there is the parallel wind allow stable flow. The maximum velocity for both campaigns is reached in the constricted throat region. And then the bifurcation allows acceleration during offshore winds because this section is aligned to these winds, whereas the bifurcation during onshore winds creates deceleration because it steered into this landward section. Finally, you can see there is a turbulent flow behind the slope because there is a flow expansion located seaward for offshore wind and landward for onshore wind. So there is a spatial and temporal variability of this wind pattern, and now we can try to understand the different sound transport that it generates. Here you have the sound transport rate calculated for each run. That you can see there is a different zone, a zone along the axis where the sound transport is low because there is a very coarse grain size, and a second zone on the northern external wall where the sound transport is higher because there is a medium grain size. If we compare quantitatively the both campaign, you can see that the onshore winds create more important sound transport than offshore winds. It's because the onshore wind blow on bare sand fetch, whereas the offshore winds blow on a fully vegetated surface. So there is a spatial and temporal variability of this sound transport, but we can say that this is the onshore wind that creates the most important sound transport. And finally, we focus on the morphological evolution. So you can see there is a low morphological evolution during offshore wind located landwards, and the onshore winds involve higher sound volumes located seawards. There is no depositional lobe for the offshore winds. It's because that creates sound transport toward the sea. The onshore wind should promote the formation of a depositional lobe, but the bifurcation into the landward section creates a deceleration and an accumulation zone within the blowout and not at the exit as it typically observed. But the sand deposit located at the exit suggests that there is a part of the flow that can exit of this section. The second sand deposit suggests that a small part of the flow moving upslope along the seaward section that suggests that the blowout tend to realign along the wind direction axis, but in a larger time scale. To conclude, there is a temporal and spatial variability of wind pattern and of sound transport. The onshore winds are the most important, while this is an environment dominated by the offshore winds. This feedback loop is disrupted by two factors. The dual wind regime that prevents the formation of a depositional lobe, and the anthropogenic impact that prevents the realignment toward an axis parallel to the prevalent winds. This study is the first step with the planimetric methodology, and the second step is to analyze the vertical wind profile that instrumented during the same campaign, and that will be the subject of a second paper. Thank you for your listening.